It was a cold autumn afternoon when Natalie first heard about the Whispering Woods. She and her friends, Alex, Sophie, and Michael, were sitting in the local coffee shop, sipping warm drinks to escape the biting chill. The town they lived in, Everwood, was small, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else, and rumors spread as fast as wildfire. Alex, the most adventurous of the group, was the one who first mentioned the woods. "You guys ever heard of the Whispering Woods?" he asked, his voice carrying the usual tone of excitement. Sophie, who was always cautious, raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like some sort of urban legend." "It's not a legend," Alex insisted. "I've heard people say that strange things happen there, things you can't explain. People go in, but they don't always come out the same." Natalie felt a shiver run down her spine. The woods were only a few miles away from their town, and although everyone knew about them, no one ever ventured inside. There were stories of disappearances, of people hearing strange noises, of shadows moving where there shouldn't be any. Yet, despite all the warnings, Alex was always eager to explore the unknown. "You're kidding, right?" Michael said with a laugh, rolling his eyes. "It's just a forest, Alex. People probably just get lost. Nothing supernatural." Alex smiled. "That's what I thought too until I met someone who actually went inside." "Who?" Sophie asked, intrigued despite herself. "A man named Greg," Alex replied, lowering his voice. "He used to live in Everwood. He went into the Whispering Woods about a year ago. He came back a few days later, but he was different. Pale, shaking, didn't speak for weeks. When he did finally talk, he said the woods were alive, that they watched him." The group fell silent. The thought of a person returning from the woods, changed and disturbed, was unsettling. "So what happened to him?" Natalie asked, her voice barely a whisper. "He left town," Alex said. "No one knows where he went, but I heard he was never the same after that. He kept mumbling about voices in the trees, about something that was following him." Natalie couldn't shake the thought of those words. Voices in the trees. It made her heart race, and yet the thought of the unknown tugged at her curiosity. Despite herself, she felt drawn to the idea of uncovering the truth behind the rumors. Later that evening, as Natalie lay in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about the Whispering Woods. She had always been one to dismiss superstitions, but the more she thought about Alex's story, the more it haunted her. The next day, when she met her friends again, she was surprised to find them all gathered around, as if something was brewing. "We're going in," Alex announced. "Tomorrow, we'll finally see for ourselves." Sophie and Michael looked uncertain, but Alex's enthusiasm was infectious. Natalie hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. "I'm in. The journey begins." The next morning, the four of them set out toward the woods. The sky was overcast, and the wind had picked up, sending dry leaves swirling across the path. As they reached the edge of the forest, the trees loomed like dark sentinels, their thick trunks entwined with moss and ivy. Despite the chilling atmosphere, there was an odd sense of calm, as though the forest was waiting for them. "Let's stick together," Alex said, leading the way into the underbrush. "The last thing we want is to get lost." They walked deeper into the woods, the familiar sounds of the town fading behind them. The air grew cooler, and the light dimmed as the canopy thickened overhead. Natalie glanced around, her eyes darting nervously at the shadows between the trees. She tried to shake off the feeling that they were being watched, but every rustle of leaves made her heart race. "Stop being so jumpy, Nat," Michael teased. "It's just a forest." But it didn't feel just like a forest. It felt ancient, alive. The deeper they went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the occasional creak of a tree or the distant call of a bird. As they pressed on, a strange unease began to settle over Natalie. At one point, they stopped to rest by a small stream. The water was clear, but as they sat in silence, something strange happened. Natalie heard it first, a faint whisper, like the soft rustling of leaves in the wind. She looked around, but no one else seemed to have heard it. "Did you guys hear that?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Hear what?" Sophie asked, glancing up from her phone. She had been trying to take pictures of the woods, but her screen kept glitching. "I swear I heard something," Natalie insisted, her eyes scanning the trees. "You're just imagining things," Michael said with a chuckle. "The wind does funny things out here." But Natalie wasn't so sure. The whisper had been distinct, almost as if someone had called her name. She,